go holler at them. So, do you feel that you are one of those people now that everyone wants to talk to?
People want to talk to me for certain things. There is the ministry side. I have people that want to talk to me about things going on in their life. The legal side, absolutely. But going back to the media side, the television and the radio, it never really started. There was a time when, people really wanted to talk, and that was during the Ferguson unrest.
Yeah.
And I represented the businesses up and down the street of Ferguson, and most of them, almost all of them, that were first or second generation immigrant businesses. And so their English wasn't great, and their stores are being looted and burned, and they're kind of stuck in the middle of everything that's going on. And I became the de facto spokesperson for those folks. And so, people wanted to hear from us. So I was on CNN and I was on Fox and I was on
that.
and
It's like, yo, that's my lawyer right there. And it's like, why is he on the Mike Brown thing? So I'm glad you touched on that because
Maker says what was going on in the store was not a robbery, but a bartering. He says that's what this market is known for, that you can go in there and barter for things. This was a barter of cigarillos and marijuana in some type of exchange. Do you accept that notion?
No, it's a lie. It's a false on both fronts. There was no barter here, and that's not something they engage in.
So when he says this is a shady store, we asked a lot of people in the community, this is what goes on there. You say no.
No, and it's absolutely not. People in this community love this store. It's been around for a long time. And, this is a deceptive documentary based on a false premise, put out there by a documentary with the intention of doing nothing more than garnering publicity for an otherwise unknown documentary filmmaker.
So what happened in the store?
Michael Brown walked into that store that night with a bag of marijuana, what looks like marijuana. He tried to buy merchandise with that, cigarillos and sodas. The clerks definitively said no. And when you watch the entire video, it shows them saying, no, get out of the store. He had thrown the bag of marijuana onto the counter. And when he comes back and puts the bag down, the bag of merchandise, he picks up the bag of marijuana. When you watch the entire video, you watch him leave with that bag. There can't be a transaction when Mr. Brown leaves with what the filmmaker says he paid with. He left with the marijuana, and you can see that. What the filmmaker did was take a 4-minute interaction with lots of moving parts, and he boiled it down to 20 seconds, laced them together into this false documentary.
It was kind of, they say, well, we're going to send a car for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you don't have to send a car. I know how to drive down to the studio, I did then feel like people wanted to talk to me, and it was kind of a unique experience. All of a sudden, I'm this person that people are saying, can I get an interview? Can I get an interview? Yeah. And in some ways, it was kind of like everybody has their 15 minutes of fame, right? That was it. But I learned a lot about the business. I learned a lot about what goes on in terms of, there were some times where I would, somebody would say, okay, we have you scheduled for 10 p.m. And then they would say, oh, I'm sorry, we get to talk to this person. We have to bump you. It's like, you're bumping me? They're better than me. This congressman, this senator, better than me. But there are, in some ways, there's this group of folks out there that just are always out circulating, and they always seem to have an opinion on everything.
So how did that get that? Because at that time of the Mike Brown thing that was some very hard times. That was a lot of racial tension at the time, I would say, and being in the spotlight of that, and I know you personally. I know your heart. it was like you one of them people who. Yeah, I know this guy. You know what I'm saying? But how did that affect you, or even if it had any effect of just being in that circle of what was going on at the time?
It was hard because there were so many issues. There was the race issue. There was the social justice issue. There was the issue of these businesses who really had no stake necessarily in one side of it or the other side of it. They just didn't want their businesses destroyed.
Yeah.
I mean, their whole lives
Yeah.
were in this store. And so I'll tell you a story. So the first night of unrest, I think it was, I was at Ferguson Market, and they were my client, and the police came in, and they said, "We have intelligence. We've been told that they're going to target your market tonight. They are going to, loot, do things bad, and we think, this is credible." And I said, "Well, what are you going to do?" They said, "We're going to do nothing." And I said, "What do you mean you're doing?" "We have been told that we are not going to, kind of engage in conflict to protect businesses."
They just on every man for themselves.
Yeah, and